So hello everyone again, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Nadège Segel. I'm project officer at FEDAREN and in charge of the networking and replication activities within the ePLANET project. So today we will discuss about how to finance the energy transition in Europe. And I will first introduce the context of today's events by presenting the ePLANET project objectives and the stakeholder forum format. Then I will detail today's agenda, and we will start the presentations just after. So ePLANET project has 4 main objectives, which are to create a transparent and coherent harmonized information sharing platform and a database of energy transition plans, which includes best practices and indicators of energy transition measures. In addition to the creation of the platform, our aim is also to develop a collaborative framework for the development and updating of energy transition plans and to consolidate and institutionalize a network including multi-level stakeholders. And one of the way to introduce and to entertain this network of multi-level stakeholders is through the stakeholder forums we organize. There are a series of online meetings aiming to share the early results of the project with potential users or beneficiaries. And so far, we organized 11 forums, including today's one, on a variety of topics such as data display and dissemination, governance concepts, energy savings, and energy communities. We were able to get inspired by a lot of external initiatives, and we also presented developments of the ePLANET platform and activities of the ePLANET project. All the stakeholder forum, or most of the stakeholder forum, have been organized in 2 sections. One presenting ePLANET outcomes and results, and a second part introducing an external initiative so that we can all get inspired and also get feedback on what we are developing within ePLANET. Some of the past stakeholder forums have been recorded and are accessible on our YouTube channel. So do not hesitate to watch them, to go on the YouTube channel and to watch them. So building on the feedback from the past stakeholder forums and also from for our regions, we decided to address the topic of how to finance the energy transition for 11th stakeholder forum. So ePLANET partners will kick off the discussions by sharing their expertise on alternative financing methods. EKN will introduce the energy performance contracting model, while representatives from our pilot regions will share their valuable knowledge and experience. EASC will showcase 3 exemplary best practices. The DGI will present their regional landscape on local energy communities. And a GFC presentation is still to be confirmed, but if they manage to connect, they should present an ELENA project they have implemented or the financing scheme of the Minoan energy community. In the second part of the webinar, we'll explore solutions from other stakeholders and initiatives. We will have a presentation on the EIB ELENA facility, followed by an introduction to Life EUCF investment forums, investment template, concept templates, sorry. So now I will just pass the floor to Josep Maria Granollers from EKN to present the energy performance contracted model. So Josep, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen. I hope you can see the screen right now. You can see my presentation.
Yes, it's not full screen. We can see the two slides at one time.
You see 2 slides now, but then something I don't understand why. No, I don't understand why you see 2 slides.
But I think it's okay. We can still see the slide.
But I don't know.
Jose Maria, stop sharing and share again.
Sí.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ok, sí, el que no volia. Llavors torno a compartir ara.
Comparteix aquesta.
Aquesta d'aquí.
I ara tinc jo sobre. Vale? Ara.
Sí?
Yes.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I am Jose Maria Granollers, as you said. I work in the ICAEN, Catalan Institute for Energy. And well, we have some background, some expertise on EPC, and I think it's important to share because we believe this is a very important tool to finance projects. So I will try. This is a very fast vision, is very conceptual one, but I think it's important to understand, how can we apply EPC to finance the energy transition projects that we want to do. Next. ¿Por qué no me cambia? Deixa'm esperar aquí. Now, okay. So my presentation will be in 7 main parts. First is introduce concepts, which is the concept for EPC. EPC stands for Energy Performance. It's not certificate because can be confused by energy performance certificate, or can be confused by engineering, procurement, and commissioning, which is not. So we have to really define that is contracting in performance. I will try to explain the genesis in the Catalan administration. When we discovered this project helped us a lot in financing projects. Then I will go on a general EPC approach and the specific approach, which is what we in ICAEN have taken, is a little different from the general approach that as is conceived in Europe, in the European Union, or in the US. Then we are going to explain a little bit what is the EPC contracting in ICAEN. So we have, a draft, which I will show you. So I will share it with you. And then we have another guides for tendering in EPC. And I think it's very important to have a very fast vision, but the concept of measure and verification, because without measure and verification, EPC is not possible. Okay, the first idea, so this is a concept which is quite late. James Watt at its time already, when he wanted to sell his vapor machine, so he offered the vapor machine, and offered that I'm going to pay the coal for you, but the only thing that you have to do is just pay for me what you are going to save from the fodder you're going to give to animals. So this is a concept that you try to replace, new technology, by the savings you get. So you can check the definition, the present current definition of EPC, which is in the joint research. You have here the link that you can check, and energy performance, contracting is a contract that provides measures that improve the energy efficiency of the existence infrastructure in return to the payment conditioned to a performance of the measures, that which you achieve an agreed energy consumption or savings. So what you are doing is to guarantee savings. You use the savings to pay the investments. So that's the main idea. And the key driver, as we can see, is technology. So at the James Watt times, technology was a change. And now we are changing technology as well to create this better efficiency, so we get savings. And then you can see in here a more graphical way to understand how EPC works. So we might have a current situation, as you have on the left-hand side, of energy and operation maintenance costs. You have a facility and you have costs. Then when you introduce new technology, you change, you have new, you change equipment, then you get some savings then that you are financing through the EPC. And so you reduce these energy operation and maintenance costs. So these savings that we have here, because we have three main states in time. We have current situation, then you have during EPC, because you have introduced some measures, and then you have these savings. And after EPC, these savings should be there. Okay. In the other graphical vision you have at the right-hand side, you can see in time how this goes on time. So, of course, the energy is always increasing in price, and consumption is something that increases as well, because the efficiency of a facility always loses with time. And this graphic on the right-hand side is what tries to illustrate. But anyway, you have a less consumption because you have introduced better technology equipment. So then with the EPC comes the concept as well of the energy service company, the ESCO, which it's important to keep in mind, because this is the company that really is going to offer you this service of performance service. Because by introducing this new equipment, more efficient, that's the company who is going to give you this guarantee on the savings. Then you have in here a facility or a building where you have different equipment, and you have different energy consumptions in electricity, because lighting or heating, HVAC, whatever. And then the company, the service company, energy service company, the ESCO, what has to do is to manage the demand, because it's the demand, and the demand is going to be reduced by introducing new technological equipment, which is more efficient. So that company has to manage with the outputs and the inputs that we have. So where is coming the energy from all this equipment? So this company, the ESCO company, is the company who's going to manage this to guarantee us the savings. Then the services that includes for an ESCO is the analysis and audits, the energy management, the design and implementation, because it's all has to be done by this company, the maintenance and operation. But maintenance it's important, but since the concept of guarantee of savings, I think it's quite secondary, but we can talk this about later. Then, of course, the company has to monitor and evaluate the savings. Evaluation of savings is a key part here, and has to manage the facility or the property. And in the same way, have to supply the equipment and the energy, and provide a service of the space heating, lighting, whatever. Then it's important to differentiate between two kinds of companies that we face it with this, because in EKN at the beginning, when we were doing different renewable of facilities, we used one model which was not the ESCO model. There are two kinds of companies. There is the company which is the service provider company, which mainly sells energy, and by selling energy, they do the change of all equipment, and which is a delivery contract, but you assure that you have the energy. And then you have the ESCO, that the ESCO, as you can see with these two graphics, is different concept, because you are not a utility. Most of delivery contracting companies are utilities. So their business is to sell you energy. But then this is not agree with the sustainability and the energy transition, because they try to send you much energy as possible. And the ESCO sells you the performance, sells you the savings. As you can see, they have to manage, the ESCO is managing between the energy provided by the utility and the final energy you use from the equipment. And then this is what is measuring the efficiency and calculating the savings. So the difference between a delivery company or an ESCO is that one sells energy and the other sells performance and efficiency. And I think this is very important to have on mind if we want to really be seriously on this energy transition process we are. So here you have these concepts in a table where you have the different types of contract. You can have the company, you have the delivery contract companies, is what I have said already, versus the ESCO. So the main action, one is service supply energy and the other supply performance. You know, it's important to see that the commitment of an energy supply company, delivery contract company, is to supply the energy, and the other is to sell the performance. So in delivery contract, there is little or no energy saving. You can, of course, you can make an agreement, but you know it's not so implicit as is in the EPC contract. Remuneration. This is an important point. The energy performance contract, you have to demonstrate savings. So the invoices are linked to achieved savings. And this is a very important guarantee to go into this energy transition and sustainability model that we want to be. And the other one is invoices are not linked to efficiency. You can say we're going to tell this utility company to be linked to this efficiency, but normally the tendency, the inertia is not going to this way. And then other risks, of course, who sells energy? The only risk is that you have to supply the energy, but you have no risk with the savings. And in APC, you have you take the risk to achieve an agreed energy efficiency. Then how this started in Catalonia administration? So we had a very high consumption on electricity in the public buildings. And then as we were aware of this EPC, so we decided to reduce our consumption of energy and the payment on the energies. And then based on the energy performance building directive, so we made a plan, and then we had an objective to reduce kilowatts and energy bill, okay, in the plan. And then we started to investigate different companies, which were only a couple companies were really ESCOs at that time. This was in 2011. Because this is not a model, was not a model established yet in Europe. This is an American model, the EPC. In fact, it started in California. You know, and then what we figured out is that there is a process for the EPC approach. So this is the general approach, as you can see. So first of all, you contact a company, an ESCO company, serious company, and then this company is going to make a preliminary analysis. After this analysis, then you can sign a letter of intent, because when a company is going to make an audit, it costs quite a lot of money, because it has to be a detailed audit to determine which measures and which savings are you going to have. If you don't sign this letter of intent, what you can do is to pay the detailed audit to the company, because then so the company is making an investment, and then the company what wants is to implement the measures. So after this detailed audit will be the contract. So we will sign the contract with the company. In this case, if we sign the contract, we don't pay this detailed audit. And once it's signed, then the company makes the implementation of the measures. And after the implementation comes to the warranty phase, where it is, the exploitation of the facility, where the savings have to be calculated, and there is a process of measure verification, and everything is going on. So this is the general process of EPC. Okay, but here you can see the difference of the general process, a little more detailed in the upper part, and then what was the process for EKN, what we use it. So in the upper part, you can see that normally this is the EPC, how it works. So you do a pre-evaluation proposal. So you have a process to select some ESCOs. You select normally between 3 and 5 ESCOs. So you do a process. You have to make a kind of tendering to select these 3 or 5. Okay. Once you have selected these companies, each of the companies going to make a preliminary analysis, and then you have to do a tendering process only for those 3 or 5 companies you have selected. And then you follow the process of a tendering, and then you select one, and afterwards you sign the contract and you implement the measures with these. In Catalonia, we saw that this was not really a democratic process, because you are selecting between 3 and 5 companies, and then there was not a very good scene here. So what we adapted the model, we decided to use an engineering company, because a detailed audit is really important for this process. You need a detailed audit. So what we did is first a contest with engineering companies. Any company can go to this contest. And then we assigned one engineering company, and this company made a detailed energy audit. So from this audit, we processed it with this engineering company awarded. We processed, so the proposal, and we elaborated the technical and administrative tender sheets to make the tender process. And then here, the tender process is not only for 2, 3, or 4 ESCOs, is for any ESCO that wants to go. Okay, and then we assign one winner, and we follow up the process on implementation and exploitation of the facility. The problem we had here is that at that time, there were no many real ESCO companies, and then any company went there, mainly no ESCO's company. And this is a problem as well, because then if you don't have a good selection, then you can have problems implementing, and more than implementing is on the follow-up to make the savings calculations. Okay, this is what I have told you. One of the important outcomes from the detailed audit here that I haven't said you is the energy use baseline. The baseline is a key part that we have, what we need to have, because without the baseline, we cannot make a calculation of the savings. Not only the baseline, but we have to create a model, a mathematical model, to know how the facility or the building is behaving. Okay, then it's important what you define in order to make the exploitation and to pay the investments with the EPC contract. We define it mainly two services, which one is the energy efficiency service, which contains not only the investment and all the cost of the energy conservation measures, the measures we're implementing, but we have to include as well the management, control of facility, and the measurement verification, because measurement verification has a cost as well, of course, and this has to be considered. And the other part would be the maintenance service. Maintenance is it's considered important here. So maintenance can have an influence as well on the efficiency of the facility. So maintenance have to be considered. Another thing is if this maintenance have to be a partial protection plan or total guarantee. Okay, so then in order to pay the investment, we have defined two fees. One is the efficiency fee, which includes the measurement verification, and the other is the maintenance fee. Then in this scheme here, you can see which is the model that we implemented in Catalonia. Okay, so as you can see, you see that if we don't do nothing, the cost would increase, always increases the cost. But once you implement the measures, you have these savings. So the total savings that we have, we divide in an efficiency fee and a cash flow. The cash flow so for user to really recover, to pay the facility, So this is divided in these two fees. Then what we understood is that the energy conservation measures, you have to define this amortization fee. That depends on the investment, and depends on the time we want to pay this investment and the rate of amortization, the tax rate, the interest rate, I mean. And then what we figured out is that the amortization fee should be around 90% of the total efficiency fee. And the measurement verification and the total maintenance fees should be around 10% of the efficiency fee. So this is, this is our experience, our expertise in this. Then it's important to understand which are the authors, the actors, which would be in this process of the EPC. So we have the utility, which is the company who gives us the energy. Then the facility has an owner, a building facility owner. And then you have the ESCO company, the engineering company, and you have the bank. So all these are the actors involved in this process. So the bank normally is who gives the money, but this money can be given to the owner, can be given to the company, the ESCO company. There are different solutions. We have many cases for this, but normally it's the ESCO who makes the investment or has to go to take a bank to give you this investment for this facility renewable. Okay, then you can see here the guide. So we made a guide. We made a guide for public tendering on EPC, and I will try to go in here, but you can go as well. Let's see, okay, if I can go. Show this. Okay, well, okay. So you can see that in this guide we have all the specific administrative clauses and the technical clauses. So this is a translation of our Catalan drafting material for EPC contracting, but we took advantage of an international project, a European project, to translate all this. So with this link, you have all those drafting, all the wording for this. So you have a guide for the drafting of the EPC. You have this index, and you can go this way. Okay. I put here as well the link for a guide on a statistical treatment of EPC that was developed with the European Investment Bank and Eurostat. So the information, if you want to have a tendering process, you have all documents are here. Then to finish my presentation, I would like to give a vision on how crucial is the measurement verification to be an EPC success, because as I said, with no measurement verification, there is no EPC cannot be possible. It's important to clarify that savings never are measured. Savings are always calculated. And in this graphic here, you can see the current state of a facility. You have a consumption during 1 year period or whatever period you want to define. And then once you implement conservation measures, you have a new measuring that should be much less in energy consumption. But then the savings are not the difference between this green curve and the black one. So because the concept here is that you have to calculate how much would you have expended in energy in case you didn't make any change. So without the measures, how much I have had consumed. So this is the real savings is a calculation. This is the difference between the red one and the green one and not the black one. And to calculate this red code, you have to do through a model. So you have to modelize, you have to create a model of your facility. And then, then you can calculate the savings. Okay, then to calculate the savings, use a protocol. It's the IPMVP protocol, which is International Performance Management and Verification Protocol, developed by the EVO, is Efficiency Evaluation Organization. You have here the link if you want to know about the company. And this company make trainings of the protocol to companies. The new ESCO companies that want to be an ESCO company has to know and has to be able to use this protocol. We in Catalonia made many trainings to all companies. We had to do lots of trainings to all companies, even to engineering companies that are going to make an audit as well, because they need to know this. And then, so there are different options to calculate savings. You have summarized it here, the different options. So you can have calculating for local actions. So you change an equipment, air conditioning or boiler. Then you have two different options here, measuring all parameters or not all and estimating others. And then the more used one would be the option C, which is a whole facility process that you consider the whole facility, and then you just measure the total energy, and well, there's a process. And then the calibration simulation is another like option C, but then in this case, you wouldn't have as much information as in the option C, and then you have to make simulations. It's kind of complex process. But these are the four main ways. And then to represent the how the savings are, I made a very an exercise, a very simple exercise here, where you can see a center. You have a consumption, a reference, which is a reference is the baseline, and then well, this is in Catalan because I have taken, but you can see the lectures, the dates. Here was used the heating degree days. GDC would be heating degree days, and then you have consumption of gas, natural gas in this case. And then with this reference, you can calculate the line you have down, well, this is a way. So with this data, you have a line which is the consumption of gas is modulated, is parameterized with these heating degree days, GDC, it appears here. So this is a mathematical model that you need to know how your facility behaves. So this is important, okay? Then how we calculate savings. So in here you have this model we have calculated, with this reference value. Okay, and then you have to calculate, you have to project. So once you know the parameters, because so on the second year that you already implemented the measures, you have a new measures. But with these measures, okay, you have a new line of energy, but then with these new measures and new parameters, basically climate parameters, you can calculate, you can project, make the projection, of the first equation we have from the reference period. And then the savings are, this difference. This difference will be the savings. So I think this concept has to be very clear for anyone who wants to use EPC as a tool, as a finance tool. Okay, there is finance terms that we cannot talk about all, because I'm not sure, and I don't know if I have much more time or I surpassed the time, but this is the idea. So this is the idea I wanted to give to you. I don't know if it's clear, but any questions will be received and answered.
Yes, thank you very much, Joseph, for this nice introduction to the model. Indeed, if you have some questions, please feel free to already add them in the chat. We can also allow you to unmute and to ask your question directly to Joseph. So we can have some questions now if there's some urgent clarification questions. Otherwise, we will have a set of questions after the two other presentation. So yeah, no clarification question. So yes, we have one. Is ECAN 100% public authority?
Sorry?
Is ECAN a 100% public authority?
100%. No, EKN is not 100%.
160.
Yeah, it's more, but okay. But when we developed this model, we were about 50 something, 60 persons, no more than this. And in fact, we have a team in EKN that is implementing this model, and we are using this model to make energy renovation in public buildings of the Catalan government, of Generalitat, would we say. I don't know if you need some.
Thank you. We will still have time for questions after the two other presentations, so I would pass on the floor to Thomas Perutka from EASC, who will present different ways of energy project financing in different EU regions. So Thomas, the floor is yours.
Hello all, nice to see you. My presentation, I promise, won't be that long as the previous one. And I'm glad that Josep introduced the EPC. It's something that I will not, I will not deal with. And I will just share my screen. So, can you see my presentation now?
Yes, it's not in full screen, but we can see it.
Okay.
Now it's full screen. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So different ways of energy project financing in various EU regions. Recently, we have had a project within the Interreg Europe program, which was called Boosty. And within this project, we have made quite a comprehensive survey on ways of financing. And these that you can see on the screen are the basic ones. So the first one is conventional models, we call it, which includes self-financing through energy savings, debt financing, or European funds and operational programs. The other are energy performance contracting, which was introduced very well by Josep. Then citizen cooperatives, crowdfunding, green municipal bonds, on-bill financing, and revolving loan funds. As long as we don't have so much time to deal with all of them, I will try to present some findings we have made during the project. As long as the ways of project financing are considered, the sustainability of EE projects and activities financing model depends on its specific advantages and disadvantages, as well as on the existing economic, market, and legal conditions. Large industrial regions with many inhabitants will target different goals and options than small rural municipality with a couple of thousands of inhabitants. Therefore, the adequacy of a model chosen depends on the specific characteristic of the municipality or region. And some of the key considerations in choosing a financing model are the availability of own resources, the municipality's borrowing capacity, project size, and bankability, the maturity of the market of energy service providers and energy service companies, ESCOs. And finally, policies at European Union, national and subnational levels, and financing initiatives. We have made a quite comprehensive survey among the municipalities in partner countries, and you can see that they mostly rely on subsidies, and most of them are EU funding and national programs, somehow combined with own resources. Then on the fourth place are bank loans, and those that we can call alternative ways start only in the fifth place. It's maybe interesting to mention that the survey was conducted about in 107 regions and municipalities in Italy, Austria, Hungary, Slovenia, Poland, and the Czech Republic. We have made, it might be some interesting case study for, let's say, how the subsidies can have an effect on the implementation of the project. We just chose a fictional project with investment cost about 100,000 euro into, let's say, heat insulation, and we have some photovoltaics there, which generates the project at all annually energy savings 6,000 euro, and we can count that half are the savings 6,000 euro, and on top of that 4,000 euro are the revenues from photovoltaic. You can see on the table below how much the subsidies affect the project, let's say, in all the monitoring indicators we can have. So, for example, if we just decide to finance this project from bank loan from 50% and self-financing from 50%, on the conditions that you can see above, we have more than 21 years payback period. But when we just change the bank loan for the subsidy, the period is only 8 years with a discount rate of 3%. And if we don't count the discount rate, so simply payback period is only 7 years, which is a drastic effect of subsidies on that. Now you can see also graphically in some monitoring indicators. So the conclusion in this was that if available, European funds and national operational programs are widely utilized, which has a considerable effect on the whole financing of the EE projects. Undisputable advantage of these funds is the financial stability, certainty, and relatively short payback period. However, when European funds and operational programs form massively prevailing well of financing, the dependency on them can create a potential problems in sustainability of EE policy after availability of these funds is diminishing, which sooner or later might become true. And from this point, we tried to just focus on at least two types of alternative ways of financing, which might replace that massively subsidized sector of renewable energy sources and EE investment in public sector. One of them is a citizen cooperative, which is actually a business model where citizens jointly own and participate in renewable energy or energy efficiency project. In energy cooperatives, citizens are involved in both the decision-making and the financial and economical participation, and all citizens are eligible to participate. We have a case study, which is an existing project in one of our partner regions, which was the town of Judenburg in Austria. And the company Stadtwerke Judenburg, which was ESCO 100% owned by the municipality of Judenburg, planned and installed a PV system on a green field at the west end of the city of the Judenburg. The PV system has a power of 500 kilowatt peak and consists of 2,000 PV modules. The innovative part is that the citizens of the city and customers of the ESCO company can participate in this model in a public-private partnership called sale and lease back. This means that people can buy from 1 to maximally 10 photovoltaic modules for a price of 650 units, and maximum investment for person was 6,050 euro. And the people could get an interest rate 3.12%, which was, we must mention before the inflation on the investment, which was at that time significantly more compared to the bank account without any risk. And it brought some key results. So the citizens are partners and owners of the modules and can earn profit from them. The ESCO company has investment sum of the people available for covering the initial investment costs. And the model is profitable for participating customers as well as for the ESCO company, because they can get also the feed-in tariff by green electricity law, which is actually a success factor, the available feed-in tariffs. Without them, the project wouldn't be that successful. So that's the case of citizen cooperative as an alternative way of financing. And the other one, which I do not have a specific example, but we can introduce it compared to the citizen cooperative, is crowdfunding, which is a relatively young form of financing, especially for not-for-profit projects, that has a potential to be developing fast in Europe. Among the benefits belong, for example, the fact the project owners have greater control and financial risk is spread among a larger number of people. There are also some drawbacks, of course. For example, a high cost of capital or occasionally display of herd mentality, which can affect the project in a negative way. We can see some 4 basic forms of the crowdfunding method: donation-based, reward-based, lending-based, and equity-based. According to the European Commission, crowdfunding has the potential to be a key source of financing for SMEs over the long term. And now, just coming to the end to this presentation, we might introduce some differences between crowdfunding and platforms, because sometimes the borders are blurred. So basic difference is that crowdfunding platforms and citizen cooperatives is in the structure, while crowdfunding platforms focusing on sustainable energy may have multiple different projects in different countries and may offer various types of participation. Energy cooperative is a single organization typically raising money to fund its own projects. So Yeah, as I said, the lines are becoming blurred. Cooperatives can make their own investments offer, or they can even make use of crowdfunding platforms to fund part of their goals. So, yeah, as I promised, that was not that long, but I think it was to the point. And just to conclude, the point was that we shouldn't rely massively on the subsidies and try to start develop more the alternative ways of financing, including the citizen cooperatives and crowdfunding. I avoided the ESCOs. One reason was that Joseph had the presentation on them, and the other was that the ESCO market in the Czech Republic is not quite developed because it has not proven to be reliable yet. Just because the market is not developed yet, and the companies that provide the ESCOs are far too more skilled than the municipalities without capacities to be able actually to assess and evaluate the pros and cons of this method. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas. Very clear messages also. I would suggest to have our third presentation from ePLANET and then to have Q&A for all the presentation together. So I would give the floor to Hevi he will introduce us to the landscape on energy communities in Girona.
Thank you, everyone. I share my screen.
We can see the slides, but we can see both as it was for
One moment.
Joseph. Yeah. It's perfect. We can see the one side, but we can also hear a background noise.
Yeah, because my colleague is calling the phone, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
But Judith, could you speak loud? Judith.
Thank you. It's okay now. Thank you.
Well, first of all, today I want to present the webinar that we have to make last week about financing energy communities, but this webinar will take place next week, so I can have the resume of that, but I will present to you the local energy communities that are being promoted by Diputació de Girona with funds from the Diputació de Girona. As you know, an energy community is a grouping of citizens and companies or local authorities joined together to consume energy by projects from photovoltaic or district heating to self-consume this energy. In Girona, we have now 8 municipalities with active energy communities with 391 residents connected to these energy communities. Also, we have 5 municipalities waiting to activate the self-consumption. The installation is done, but we have here in Spain a lot of problems with distribute the supply energy distributors, the main companies of the electricity, to legalize the installation and to arrange the the coefficients of auto consumption, or the coefficients of self-consumption of each resident. So this, we have a lot of problems of this, and it's difficult to take place the local energy community. And also in the Diputació de Girona, we have other projects, CT7 that we have executing now, the installations, other CT3 that we are planning how to execute the installation and developing the project, and also another 25 that the municipality has interest to have an energy community, and we are planning to do all the phases. And at least we have already detected that there are 6 energy communities that have been promoted by the citizen, not by the public authorities. That it's citizens that they join together, and in these cases, they promote the community by themselves. So that's a photo of the Girona County, and you have all the colors by the different types of the phases of the projects. And for resume it, we have 144 municipalities in Girona that are working on local energy communities. That it's more or less 860 homes and an average of 5.6 megawatts of energy. So that's all, and what I want to share with us today. So
Thank you, Javi.
no, what I want to say is next week we will have this webinar about financing, and if some of one want to join the webinar, it will be a pleasure to receive, but I think it will be in Catalan or in Spanish. But if you want to have a resume of it, I could send you some notes about what we are talking in it.
Thank you very much, Javi. Maybe if you have a link to a registration for the webinar next week, you can put it in the chat if people want to join.
I don't have the link yet, but I can send.
We can send it afterwards. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. So now we will have some time for short Q&A. For if you have questions to our speakers, now it's the time before we pass to the second part of the webinar, which will be about external initiatives, so not from ePLANET. Maybe to start the Q&A, I would have a question for Josep, actually, which is how the new model, the EPC model, was received by the ESCO companies. Was it something that they already had in mind? Because I understood that ICANN was the organization pushing for EPCs in Catalonia, isn't it?
Yeah, we are pushing because it's the model that we understood we had to use. We didn't have money to invest. Then our option was the companies have to pay by the savings because we didn't have money. Okay, so this model was forced really by we in Catalonia, and then we organized a lot of training in measure verification in the protocol. Okay, all companies want to have to work on facilities, on new facilities, and many companies, the majority of companies were not ESCOs. Normally, are installers or utilities, or the typical companies with the French chauffage model that they sell energy. But when you organize a contest for a tendering process for new facilities, to make new facilities, everybody goes there. So the interest of the companies, as is to sell, they really go for learning anything to be in place and to have business, you know. But what we saw is that once you have everybody trained with the measure verification protocol, which is not easy, is an exam. You have an exam of 5-6 hours, and most companies, okay, they have people who pass this exam, but then you realize that they were not able to define a measure verification plan, because before you are going to make the measure verification starts with a measure verification plan. And we had some difficulties with this because it's something that you need expertise, and companies, okay, train it with lots of information, then you realize that they have no expertise to apply the model. So it was kind of difficult. Fortunately, we had a couple of companies, American companies that we have here, in our market, and they were expert with this model. And we tried to make that these companies should be the first awarded to apply this model, and then the rest of the companies would learn from them. That was not exactly this, but because there's a lot of interest, and it's not so easy to direct things as you want, because there are many pressures and many interests and many forces, if you want to say. But I think it's the only way. You need time. You don't do this in 1 year or 2 years. You need more time, because it's a process which is difficult. And if you want to be democratic and consider everybody, it's difficult to apply, but I think it's the only way. If we want to learn, learning is a long process, and even more with this, because and then you need as well not only expertise as being an ESCO, but expertise, on characterizing buildings and facilities. But anyway, the interest was there, and the companies have made the effort to implement with this, and you really get every company following this process. But it's not easy, that's for sure.
That's good to know that there's interest. And yeah, as takeaway, we can take that it takes time and to invest in trainings, and it's great that in Catalonia, EKN is taking care of that. Thank you, Josep.
Okay.
Maybe I would also have a question for Thomas about the cooperative model, so citizen cooperative model. I was wondering whether the citizen needed some trainings about energy and about how a cooperative would work, and because sometimes that could be a barrier also for citizens to invest in cooperatives, lack of knowledge or lack of trust also. So is it something you faced, or that was reflected in the survey?
Well, coming back to the example I introduced, it was from Austria. It was from an Austrian partner, where actually the citizen cooperatives and crowdfunding is far more developed than in the Czech Republic. So I can only transfer the experience that they do regular meetings with all the private investors and citizens, and these models are based on a long-term mutual trust that these models can work actually. And for us, Germany and Austria in this way is a real great good practice as a whole, which we would like to follow here. But the main issue is actually the lack of trust. And the second issue is the presence of subsidies, which actually prevent development of these type of models. So as long as I know, they do common meetings where they explain what's happening, but the partnership is there quite developed, and they have a long experience in this model. So yeah, they do.
Okay, thank you very much. There's still room for maybe one question from the audience, but as I don't see any in the chat, I think we can shift to the second part of the webinar of our program today, solutions from other initiatives. So first, we will have Daniela Wagner from the EIB, the European Investment Bank, who will introduce the ELENA facility. So Daniela, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nadesh, and good morning to all of you. So I'll see what the presentation is, and I hope to be able to share it with you.
It's perfect. It's full screen.
Super. All right. So as Nadesh has already mentioned, I work for the European Investment Bank, which is the European Union's climate bank. So the bank is owned by the member states. And to give you a couple of numbers only, we had a volume of loans and contracts which we signed last year of 88 billion euros, out of which around 22 went into energy. So energy covering everything from energy efficiency to renewables. Just to give you a bit of an idea how big the market overall is, specifically related to energy. So today, I won't speak about the bank as such. I will speak about the ELENA program. ELENA is the European Local Energy Assistance, which is a program funded by the European Commission and managed by the European Investment Bank. So what we do, we are the contracting partner of the Commission, supporting the applicants in the application process and in the implementation of this grant program. We are not the funder as such. Let's dive into that. All right. So what is the ELENA model actually? It's a grant scheme that supports the project development, meaning that the investment as such is not supported by the grant, but the preparation is. Everything from the energy audit to the surrounding activities in line with the preparation of the investment. So whichever activities are needed, except for the main concrete detailed design of the measures, all the auxiliary activities and project development needs are supported by the grant. A specific about ELENA is that we request a leverage factor, which means that for each euro you receive in a grant funding, you have to prove that you actually implemented the investments later on. These are 20 euros investment per euro grant for energy projects, meaning energy efficiency in different sectors. We will come to that in a bit of time. And specifically in the transport and residential building sector, the leverage factor is only 10. So 10 euros investment per euro of grant received. And then we look into the investments that can be supported by ELENA. In principle, we have three different themes or three different blocks of measures that can be supported. The one is sustainable energy, which is basically building renovation, which is not covering residential buildings, so public buildings mainly, and also company buildings. Building integrated renewable energy or renewable energy that is connected somehow to energy communities. So there is also a link to the previous presentation. There is also the option of supporting activities of energy communities in the preparatory phase. Then it could also cover street lighting renovation or district heating and district cooling renovation projects. Then we have a residential pot, which covers building renovation in the residential sector. And then we also have a pot for urban transport. These different investments can also be a mix and match. So it doesn't have to be pot-specific investment programs, but they could also be mixed. To come back again to the leverage factor, which I mentioned before. So this is calculated taking the total investment sum, which you are planning to implement, divided by the technical assistance grant, which you receive. The minimum is 10 for transport projects and residential projects, as I had said, and 20 for all the others, which can either be energy efficiency or a mix of the different sectors. So here about the mix and match, which I had mentioned before. So your investment program, which you are planning to implement, could cover, for example, renovation of public buildings together with renovation of the existing district heating network. It could also have a part on residential building renovation. So, for example, social housing units that are going to be refurbished. As well as maybe electric vehicle charging points, which are implemented then as part of this investment program. The minimum investment we are looking for is 30 million euros. So you had the red line there with at the level of 30 million euros. So that's basically the minimum size of investment program we are looking into, just because of the effort you have to expect when you apply for this grant. So there is a certain effort related to the grant application and implementation, and therefore we are looking at investment programs of at least 30 million euros or above. When it comes to the eligible beneficiaries, so we don't exclude anyone. Basically, you could either be a public entity or a private entity. This could cover, for example, the central government, so the national level, but could also go down to the municipal level. So we have many applicants which are a local public authority, a municipality, which puts together investments in a dedicated municipality. Could also be financial institutions, so different sizes of banks. And as I had mentioned, could also be private entities. So, for example, the energy agencies, already existing one-stop shops with a legal character, associations such as social housing, also kind of public-private entities. And to say it could also be a combination of several organizations or several municipalities, but what we need is one entity, one legal entity that acts as project promoter, project applicant, that will be our counterpart. So any mix of investments, any mix of beneficiaries is possible. However, there needs to be one decision maker that actually is in contact with the European Investment Bank at the end. Regarding the project development services, what is eligible to be covered by the grant? That could be staff costs of the internal staff, as well as costs for external experts, for external staff, if you need to outsource the activities. So both is eligible. And regarding the activities, things which could be covered in the grant are stakeholder engagement and coordination. Then also to a minor extent, promotion and marketing. When it comes, for example, to social housing, you really need a certain amount of promotion towards the residents to inform them to do a bit of marketing about your project. Feasibility and technical studies are also covered. That being said, there needs to be a certain maturity of your plan already. So you need to have already figured out which investments you are going to move forward and which you are including in the investment program. So you should have a certain level of pre-feasibility study already, just to know what you want to actually implement in the duration of the project, because the project duration is 3 to 4 years maximum, meaning that if you start completely from scratch, you would not manage to implement your investments in these 3 to 4 years term, and therefore a certain pre-assessment of the possible investment program needs to needs to be done before the application for ELENA. Then energy audits, of course. Josep has mentioned before under energy performance contracting that this is part of the energy performance contract. Here, on the other hand, this could be a preparatory step, which can be covered by the ELENA grant. Then any kind of structuring or bundling investments, as well as business plans. For example, if you need to update the business plan of the district heating system when you do the refurbishment, that could be part. And then, of course, tendering procedures, especially if you're a public entity, tendering procedure is quite a difficult and lengthy thing, so there can be support granted as well under the ELENA facility. So therefore, you can hire external experts if needed, specifically for these procurement procedures. Legal and financial advisory, if you need a financial concept to finance these investments, and of course the project management is subject to the grant. The eligible costs, internal staff costs, I have mentioned before. So all the costs related to your internal staff, salaries, social security charges, and any other statutory costs are covered by the grant. The external experts are subject to subcontracting. So you would sign a subcontract with the external experts for a specific service which they are providing, and this is also eligible as costs under the ELENA grant. In terms of the application process, you might know the different Horizon 2020 and LIFE programs, which have application dates once a year or several times a year. In this specific part, or in this specific program here under ELENA, we don't have that. So it's a continuous application. A continuous application is possible. There is no submission deadline. We give out money on a first come, first served basis, meaning the date of the application submission counts in terms of the ranking. And we give direct support to the applicants during the application phase, which means you first hand in a pre-application outlining your project idea on a 3-page document, which I will show you in a second. And then it's a forth and back with us where we support you in preparing the full application and giving advice and suggestions on how to improve the application. until the final submission of the application, and then your application is handed in to the European Commission for their approval of the grant funding, because as I had mentioned before, the grant actually is paid by the Commission. Maybe to mention here as well, you have to outline the entirety of your project development costs, your PDS costs, and out of that total amount, only 90% is eligible, meaning that 10% of the eligible preparation costs have to be borne by the applicant. Yeah, that I have explained before. So you reach out to us, either to us personally or to our functional Elena mailbox, send us the pre-application, and then we start with an iterative process to come up and to develop the full application, which is then handed into the Commission for their approval, and then the contract for the grant is again signed with the European Investment Bank. So there is again then the exchange with us directly and not with the Commission. The pre-application form, which I had mentioned before, you have the form here. You can download it from the EIB website. It's a 3-page document where you outline your organization, where you outline the investment program, so where and which focus areas you want to cover, and then a brief description on half a page of what you actually want to do. Is it public buildings? Which type of public buildings? Which measures you're planning? On half a page to just illustrate what you have in mind. And you need to estimate the investment volume already at that stage here. And you need to estimate the costs for project development services down here, 3.4. So you need to identify which specific items you actually will need during the development and what the costs for that will be approximately. And also here under 3.1, what you see now highlighted, the organizational setup. So if you're planning to set up a project development unit in-house, which is implementing most of the activities in-house, or if you're having one project manager, which is coordinating the external experts, or how you're planning to implement the project as such. Very important for us is the next point. It's the justification, because you need to highlight why you actually need to get this grant for project development. That means that there needs to be a clear need that could be, for example, limited capacity in-house, a need to accelerate the process, a certain difficulty in the investment program you are planning to implement, where you need external expertise, that kind of things. I will attach a number of template texts as well in the slides, which you will receive later on, where you can see how or what this could look like, how this justification could be structured in order to justify your need for this grant. That I have already mentioned, which type of project development activities are necessary. And then the leverage factor calculation, which we had already seen before, and the estimate of energy savings, renewable energy generation, and CO2 emission savings. There are currently around 166 projects closed and ongoing. So we have dispersed and committed grant amount of roughly 300 million euros. So we have already quite a substantial archive and expertise in ELENA projects which are implemented or which are currently under implementation. Out of all of these projects, the average leverage factor is 32, which means that for each euro of public grant, around 32 euros of investment took place. And then the summary to finalize the presentation. As I had mentioned, the minimum investment is 30 million euros. So starting with that amount, you could apply for an ELENA grant. The leverage factor is 10 for residential, for exclusively residential building projects, or for exclusively transport-oriented projects, or 20 for any other project type. The application process is continuous, so you can reach out at any moment to us, and we give out a grant of 90% maximum of the project development costs, which are usually between 1 to 3 million euros. Recently, because of price increases, we have also a bit higher grants, so 3.5 to 4 million euros are nowadays also seen. All right, and that I have mentioned, the time frame once you have signed the ELENA contract until the implementation of investments is a maximum of 3 to 4 years, depending on the sector. So it's 3 years for energy efficiency, renewable energy project, and it's 4 years for the transport project. I'm happy to receive any of your questions, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. I also put my contact details here in case you want to hear more about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela. We already have one question for you, so I will ask it just now. So the question is, does ELENA technical assistant for district heating system networks cover the whole heating cooling service line, including energy generation, distribution network, and heating stations, prosumer measures? The question is in the chat if you want to have it written, maybe it's easier.
Yes, I already did. Hi, Daniel. Indeed, the ELENA Technical Assistance Grant covers district heating in its entirety. What it does not cover is a substantial extension of the district heating network, which means everything which is related to updating, renovating the heat generation is okay, the line renovation is okay, as well as the distribution network when it comes to connecting the clients. Prosumer measures can also be covered. So if you want to install solar thermal equipment or photovoltaic equipment, that could also be covered and is also eligible as part of the investment program.
Thank you very much. It's the only question we have now. So I would suggest to pass to the next presentation, and if there's still other questions, you can still ask them in the chat, and we will have a final Q&A after the next presentation. Thanks again, Daniela. So now I will pass the floor to Mariangela Luceri, that will present the investment concept template of the Life UCF project. So Mariangela, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. Nadesh, do you see my slides in full screen?
Yes, we can see the slides and it's in full screen. Thank you.
Hello, so Nadesh mentioned I'm Mariangela Luceri and I work for Federal with Nadesh, and I'm a member of the UCF, or European City Facility Management Team. UCF was firstly financed by the Horizon 2020 program, and now it's continuing the activities through the LifeSat program. UCF is born to support local authorities in overcoming some barriers that they face when approaching financing. In premise, the lack of capacities in applying for funds. We also notice a lack of culture in engaging with the financial sector, particularly with the private sector. Municipalities also struggle finding the best source of financing for their project, or in combining several sources of financing. And sometimes it's also complicated to match the local council's priorities or budget or strategies with the implementation of climate and energy actions. So UCF wants to support the implementation of local strategies and his local authorities' access to financing. This is done through the provision of both technical and financial support for the development of what we call investment concept for clean energy projects. So we want to support local authorities in bridging the gap between the project idea and the business plan and transforming the actions, for instance, included in CCAPs into sound investment packages. We are positioned between the planning and implementation of the project. So it's the first step after the development of an action plan or a CCAP to then approach investors if the project is mature enough, or other technical assistance facilities, such as, for example, the ELENA program presented by Daniela, or like the PDAs of CINEA, if the project, of course, still needs some extra steps before approaching investors. With regards to the financial support, each UCF beneficiary receives a grant of 60,000 euro. The amount is released as a lump sum, which means that we do not require municipalities to provide us with, for instance, copying of timesheets, invoices, and then any other financial reporting document that grants usually require. The rationale is that we really want to simplify the job for local authorities and to not burden them with administrative tasks. The only thing that we ask is the submission of the investment concept. Indeed, the grant is meant for its development, and because we recognize that one of the main barriers is the lack of capacities, the grant can be used to hire personnel or to subcontract the work, for instance, to energy agencies or consultants. So beneficiaries are free to use the grant as it best fits their needs. And the activities can be financed also vary from project to project. For instance, municipalities can use the grant to carry out energy audits or feasibility studies, market analysis, and so on. Important here, again, the grant can be used to hire personnel or someone that can take care of the project management. So the investment concept is a document that translates a project idea into financial language in order to provide investors and financial institutions with information necessary to assess whether a project idea is it's good, it's can have a good return of investment, and to transform the actions foreseen in in energy plans into sound investment packages and facilitate the access to funding for municipalities. It is composed of 3 sections, with the third sections repeated as many times as needed. First of all, there is, of course, the contact information. Then there is a section on the description of the proposed investment concept. And then the investment concept can be divided per project. And for each project, the beneficiary has to provide an overview of the project itself, describe who's the leading organization and who are the stakeholders. Then we need a description of the legal framework, the economic and financial framework, and finally, the beneficiary shall outline the roadmap for investments. We allow the division per project because, as you see, it's also a competitive process. Sometimes, very similarly to the ELENA program, beneficiaries can, applicants can submit an application targeting several measures, for instance, renovation of public building plus renovation of, residential buildings plus other measures. And so the division per project allows them to divide all these measures into packages so that they can easily either go through a unique financing institutions or several financing institutions on the basis of the project. The investment concept template is available on the UCF website, and it is translated into 24 languages. So even if you're not UCF beneficiaries, you can still download it and use it for your own projects. In addition to the financial support, UCF also provides technical support. This is mainly through guidance from our national partners. We also have a capacity building program reserved to beneficiaries and split into modules to train them, for instance, on project management and governance, how to complete the investment concept, of course, and then what are the next steps. So how to approach financing institutions or how to receive, for instance, external technical assistance or capacities from other EU initiatives or projects. The grant is released through call for applications. We successfully ran 6 calls already, the last one that closed in March. And overall, counting also the 6 call results, Sorry. We have been financing more than 300 beneficiaries. The 7th and last call for applications is planned to open this autumn. The call is simultaneously opened in all the countries that you see in blue, colored in the 3 shades of blue on the screen, which means the European member states, Iceland, and Ukraine. To make sure that the competition among municipalities is as fair as possible, the countries have been grouped in the 3 regions, so northern and western countries, southern countries, and central and eastern countries. Within UCF, a local authority has 5 steps to go through. The first step is the pre-application, so we organize info sessions at both EU and national level, and we have guidelines for applicants, FAQs, video tutorials, and other material that interested applicants are invited to check to prepare themselves for the application. The call is usually open for 2 months, and during this period, interested applicants can submit an application, and the application process is formed of 2 sub-steps. One is the eligibility check that I will present in a minute, and the other one, of course, is the full application that shall be submitted online through the UCF platform. The application is very short, it's like 2 pages, and it's only meant to know what your project idea is and what is the intended impact of the measures that the investment concept wants to address. Each submitted application is then evaluated, and applicants receive a feedback report. Successful applicants are then contacted for the signature of the grant agreement, and once this is signed, they receive the 65% of the lump sum, so 39,000 euros. Then they have 1 year to develop the investment concept, and then after the investment concept is submitted and validated, they receive the remaining part of the grant. And they enter what we call monitoring phase or implementation phase, which means a period of 2 years where they are supported in accessing financing for the implementation of their investment concept. The eligibility check, as the name suggests, is meant to assess whether you're eligible or not for the UCF. It is formed of 5 questions with yes or no answers, so it's super quick. So UCF is open to municipalities or local authorities. They can apply in groupings, and it's also open to local public entities aggregating municipalities or local authorities. They shall have a CCAP or another action plan with mitigation targets. The mayor shall sign a letter to support the project, and they shall commit to the UCF monitoring or implementation phase. UCF is managed by a team at European level, which also runs the central help desk. And then we are supported by national partners. In each UCF country, we have country experts and national hubs. The country experts are here to technically support local authorities throughout the journey, particularly during the application phase and during the development of the investment concept. While national hubs are here to, first of all, promote UCF calls in the countries, but also to support the deal closing of investments. This is an overview of the activities carried out at the national level. So, for instance, country expert, they run the national help desk and provide guidance in national language. And they can also run a quick quality check of the application before they are submitted. In some countries, they organize what we call theory training, so some online webinars or online meetings with interested applicants to further support them and increase their chance of success. This is it from my side. I'm here if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. I don't see any question for now in the chat, so I will remind everyone that they can feel free to note down their question in the chat or to unmute themselves if they want to ask a question out loud directly to one of the speakers, and to give a bit more time to the participants to write their question or to note down their question. I will have one question first for Daniela on the ELENA facility. And it's how long does it take to go through the whole application process, more or less? How much time do interested stakeholders have to plan to the application?
We usually say from the pre-application approval, which is an internal steering committee process, to the signature of the grant contract, we count 6 months at least. So that's the minimum which you have to take into account, depending on the maturity of the application, and then of course, given the fact that we hand it into the commission, they have 2 months time. We start with the contract preparation. Every step takes a bit of time. So what you need to take into account, at least if you are super quick, 6 months is the minimum.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe one question from my side to Mariangela. So you mentioned that UCF is linked to the CCAPs and to the Covenant of Mayors. Could you give us more details maybe about this?
So we are not strictly linked to the Covenant of Mayors, meaning that we simply request applicants to have an action plan covering their territories. Then, of course, Covenant of Mayors action plans, so CCAPs, are automatically accepted because we know that they include mitigation targets, but we also approve or allow other action plans developed with other methodology as far as they have at least one mitigation target.
Okay, thank you. And maybe one final question for both of you. Can applicants apply twice for either the ELENA or the UCF?
Under ELENA, it's possible. It has to be a specific investment program. So it cannot be the same grant for the same investment program, of course, because you have to report the investments. But if you then have a follow-up program, this is possible. However, typically the commission then requests either more efficiency in terms of more savings for the energy efficiency measures, or a specific complexity of the investment program which justifies the second application. But in principle, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And for UCF, so until the 6th call, beneficiaries could not reapply with another project. But as I mentioned, we are now we will soon launch the 7th call, and this is one of the topics we will discuss in the coming months. But so far, no, they cannot.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for both of you. Yes, Daniela.
Nadesh, if I just may comment before my answer from
sure.
Dami, I have put it in the chat, but I just wanted to say it as well so that everyone hears it. I have to correct myself regarding the question on district heating before. So we have a new mandate now under InvestEU. The money is now coming out of a different pot. Besides that, not much changed. However, for the district heating, there was a change because we also cover now new district heating systems. So everything which is connected to district heating is eligible under ELENA, and the total investment can be taken into account, not only renovation. To be correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Daniela. So I will share my final slide to close today's meeting. I hope you can see it. So yes, we can slowly end our stakeholder forum, but please stay a bit longer to share with us your feedback. We will use Slido, it's a very short Slido questionnaire, and it helps us improve the forums so that they better fit everyone's needs. And meanwhile, I will thank again all the speakers for the very interesting and inspiring presentations, and also thank all the participants for attending our event. Our next stakeholder forum will introduce a repository of best practices. We will keep you informed, but you can also follow us on social media to be sure to not miss it. And after submitting your reply to this Slido questionnaire, I wish you a very nice end of the day and week. Thank you very much.